Peace, everyone. This is Kilindi Iyi of the Detroit Psychedelic Conference and the Tamarian Martial Arts Institute. And I'd just like to say greetings to everyone. We put up a new website of which I will be posting a link to that website so that you can come on and okay, so I'm back. There's many things that we have going on this year that people need to be aware of. Most of what's been going on with the community over the past 5,000 years is that we have not had the direct experience. We have reconnected with the technology to be able to reconnect with the hyperdimensional realms, the plenum of information from where the ancestors gathered the information to be able to produce the high cultures that we look at today as the grandest of what was produced on Earth, be it ancient Kemet or the ancient Dravidic civilizations, Mesopotamia, the Olmec, Toltec, Aztec, Mayan civilizations, Angkor Wat, the great temples of the earth. We're reconnected with the information. The problem is that for the last several thousand years, this has been held by elite guilds and secret societies. Now it's back out in the public domain, and we have the internet to help us spread that. The psychedelics, hallucinogens, entheogens being DMT, psilocybin mushrooms, iboga, ayahuasca, salvia divinorum, on and on and on. Peyote, so many different entheogens that we utilize throughout the decades, throughout the eons for true knowledge and direct experience, be it in martial art, be it in yoga, be it in meditation. All of these ancient systems were connected to the entheogens, and if you're not pairing what you're doing with the entheogens, you are missing the bigger part of whatever it is you're trying to do. I don't care what it is. I don't care if you're a Kemetic priest. I don't care if you're a yoga master. I don't care if you're a Tai Chi master. You aren't doing it in the proper light if you're not hooking it with the technology that gives you access to be able to visualize, to be able to see, to be able to experience the things that you're doing. Now, I'm not saying this out of ego. People are going to say, well, you're saying it's out of ego. I've been doing Kemetic this and that for 30 years, and I know what I'm doing. Yes, all of that. But the thing is that if you pair your greatness with the entheogens, it'll take you that much farther. It's kind of like in dealing with Kemet and dealing with the pyramids, by saying that the pyramids were created with extraterrestrial knowledge and information, and that the ancestors had a way to hook up with hyperdimensional, extra-dimensional, trans-dimensional information through the multiverse. Are we greater because we came from Africa? That's great. That's wonderful. But are we greater if we made our way from Sirius? Are we greater if we made our way from the planet of Fae? Are we greater if we made our way through the multiverse to the earth and then from nothing built the great civilizations and systems of knowledge that we have now? What are we greater? What are you so scared of, that there's something else out here, that there's more out here? Because there's so much more, and we're missing so much of what we need to do. One thing that we're instituting, several years ago, I traveled to Australia to a conference there in the outback of Australia. And at that conference, I wrote an article in the conference book, and it was called The Interdimensional Village. The Interdimensional Village is a place in hyperspace of people who take a certain type of entheogen, mainly psilocybin mushrooms. And what these people do is meet up in hyperspace for camaraderie, for taking a vacation. In other words, having the technology and the ability to, on a Saturday night, people all around the world who may be tired from the week's work, who may be, you know, just tired of dealing with the everyday mundane things, take an entheogen and meet up in the hyperdimensional realms. Just imagine being on a planet where the water's purple, the sky is orange, you know, good food, good fruit, no fighting, no nonsense going on, and we can stay there, say, 10 years, subjective time in one night. Well, I wrote that article for the conference booklet at Entheogens Australia, which is coming up again here in 2017 in December in Australia, a few hundred miles outside of Melbourne. And we'll be taking a contingent to that, so look out for it on the website once I put up the link. We'll be going to Australia, we'll be going up yonder, and, you know, hanging out at that particular conference. 4-day conference, outdoors in the outback. You'll see kangaroos jumping by and koala bears and all that kind of stuff going on. And we'll be taking people from Detroit, LA, New York, London, all over. We're gonna be coming in strong. The interdimensional village is a construct, but when we first did it, it was difficult for people to find the village that we were constructing in the hyperdimensional realms. So what we've done is we've taken quartz crystals, which are a technology. I know people have jewelry and quartz and all those different types of things, but the way you access the technology, the supercomputer inside of the quartz crystal, is through the entheogens downloading into that crystal. So what we're doing is we're going to make these crystals available. In other words, for the entheogenic family, for the psychedelic family, for those who want to make it to the interdimensional village. Now, of course, this means that you're going to have to, first of all, start dealing with the entheogens and the psychedelics and get up to the dosages where you have access, because it's not going to give you access at 5 grams, 7 grams, and 9 grams. You got to get up over 15 grams of mushrooms and have your crystal encoded with the information or the map to where we're meeting up. The crystals will be no different than any other quartz crystal that you see, except they will be, the crystal hard drive will be formatted. All of the things that are inside of it, from being on Earth and people handling them and things like that, we're going to format the hard drive. We're going to go to the spot, and while going to the spot, we're going to download the informational map, just like Google Maps, to the place where we meet up. Once you have the map and you have the proper dosage, we're going to meet up in hyperspace, and we're going to have a wonderful time without having to worry about the nonsense here. We can stay as long as we want in an evening. We can stay a year. We can stay 5 years. Subjective time is not a reality there. The three-dimensional regular construct that we're in isn't there. And at the end of a long Saturday night, we've been on vacation. We've seen things that only the folks who have access and the keys and the codes to be able to get into these particular places through the crystal will have. So this is one of the things that we'll be making available. We also have the Yiming Zhu, Dragon's Night Pearl, which are rare crystals that are actually infinity stones. If you want to, where they got the infinity stone concept from, we actually have the infinity stones, which are utilized when going into the ultra realms for light in the darkness, for informational systems, as protective devices, as weapons. It's time to get out of the theoretical utilization of the things that we have. I see people with all this beautiful Kemetic jewelry and wristlets and breastplates and staffs and all that kind of stuff, but they're just jewelry. It's just pretty. But if you pair that with the entheogens, and those things start unlocking those codes, because that's what our ancestors did. The metal nature, the architecture, all of those things were left as a map to be able to do what the Kemetic folks did. They did that for us. It's not about recreating what they did. It's about being in the same place and experiencing the same thing so that we can create whatever it is that we want. It's not about revolution, it's about evolution. It's about becoming more than the human. It's about becoming that which we are destined to become. Our children are coming out showing it, but we want to put them in the same position that we were in. We want to take them to school and telling them that, oh, if you just get a good education, you can get a good job at climbing Fuller, or you could be a lawyer, or you could be an engineer. What about being an unbridled, unbound super being in the multiverse that three-dimensional reality no longer has a hold over? Not worrying about being able to fly, but being able to be immediately wherever you want to be, wherever you have to be, wherever you can imagine to be. This is our destiny. Our destiny is that these technologies are here. I'll be lecturing, having a lecture series coming up each month for this year. I'll be talking about the regular mundane things to deal with psychedelics, some of the things that they're talking about at the colleges and things like that, utilizing mushrooms, dealing with opiate addictions, mushrooms, and early childhood trauma. But I'll also be talking about the high-end stuff. SEPI. Most people know SETI, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, but most people don't know about SEPI. SEPI is the search for infraparticle intelligence. In other words, on the subatomic scale, life at the subatomic scale, where the super civilizations that generate the servers that create the macro universe are accessing that, going under the Planck length. Planck length is 10 to the 35th, negative 35th, dealing with femtotech. Femtotech is 10 to the negative 15, the size of the nucleus of the atom, where quarks and gluons are. Then attotech and zepotech. These type of technologies that are trillions and trillions and trillions of times more densely populated as far as structure and potential than the nanotech that we utilize in our telephones and things like that. Just femtotech, which is one order of magnitude under, two orders of magnitude under the nanotech, is a trillion times more densely populated as far as potential than the nanotech. And we'll be talking about those entities and creatures and civilizations that are existing on those very, very tiny scales that are so large in those tiny scales that they're bigger than all the universes that exist in the macro universe. One tiny particle under the Planck length is larger and can generate and does generate. That's the soul place. That's where when they talk about in the Mahabharata, when Krishna talked to Arjuna and said that what you are is so small, no fire can burn it, no wind can make it dry, no water can drown it, because you're smaller than your soul is smaller than the water molecule. Your soul is smaller than the molecules and atoms that create friction, that create heat, so you can't be burnt. That's why you're indestructible in your true being, in your soul. For lack of a better word, we just call it soul, So what I'm gonna be doing, as I said, we're ramping it up now for 2017. These crystals will be available. They're not gonna be available to everybody. No knuckleheads get in. You have to have the trans-dimensional, hyperdimensional codes to be able to even postulate or understand what's going to be going on. So you're going to have to be working with the entheogens. I don't know how you're going to get them. Of course, they're illegal, and this is the reason why they're illegal, because they don't want you being more. They don't want you being unbound. They don't want you being uh, T'Challa and the the X-Men. They don't want you being Wolverine and all those different type of things that are the potential within inside of you. We don't have to worry about these things if we get a resonance field built up of enough people taking these entheogens, that it sets up that resonance field, that the more genes, the DNA that is encoded within us, that non-coding DNA opens up and delivers the potential of what and who we are. This is the legacy that our ancestors left us, and we take the trappings of it. We say Shango did this. We said Obatala does this. We say that Zeus did this. We say that Thor did that. Well, what are you doing? What are we doing? These are just maps and orders of potential to be able to understand who we are and what we are. Those things that we talked about and deal with legend, those things that have come on the movies, Doctor Strange and all that kind of stuff. The things that went on in the movie Doctor Strange pale to what many people in the city of Detroit, who some you know and some you don't know, some 18, some 80, that go on a high dose entheogenic excursion on a long Saturday night, and the stuff that Doctor Strange does and sees pales in comparison. It's not even comparable. We have a meetup group, an entheogenic meetup group, where people come and share their stories and their excursions. And we're not talking about what you would call the big people. We're talking about average people coming in, all different ages, young people, old people, hip-hop generation people, and jazz in the 1960s people, all coming in sharing their experiences. So you can Facebook message me if you're on Facebook. You can Facebook message me. If you're not on Facebook, you can get me at kilindi@hotmail.com. That's KILINDI@hotmail.com. Those are the ways that you can reach me. It's not just me doing this. For some reason, I've become the face of it. Some of my martial arts friends say, well, he's switching up. He's switching up from martial arts. No, I have a new martial arts class starting in Detroit this weekend. We'll be having children's classes and adult classes. The thing is that what I've been telling my martial arts friends for decades is that all martial arts are hooked to a particular entheogen. That's the Japanese martial arts, that's Indonesian martial arts, that's Korean martial arts, Iranian martial arts. They all have a power plant base to them, where at the higher levels of the art, once you know how to punch and kick, because fighting is something that you can learn in a little while. But what happens after fighting? What happens after your spiritual practice? You've been meditating now for 30 years. You've been meditating now for 40 years. Where do you go from here? The next place that you go from here is into the entheogenic realm, where you can contend against not just human beings, but anything and everything that you can imagine. That's the Predator, the Alien, Superman, except you got some juice with you. You're not just, fighting Superman as a human being. So I'm saying, whatever you're doing, whether it's the Kemetic paradigm, whether it's the Hebrew paradigm, whether you're a Muslim, they all had power plants that went along with them. So the Detroit Psychedelic Community website is going up. The psilocybin and African spirituality workshops and lectures will be coming up. These things we need to do. It won't let you in if you're a knucklehead. There are things and codes that are put in place so that we can deal with. We have the Women in Entheogens conference coming up this year, September in Cleveland, Ohio, in honor of Kai Wingo. And we're going to still continue to do that. The Detroit psychedelic community, psilocybin and mental illness in the Black community, those will be some of the workshops. We'll be having retreats. We'll be having all of these different type of things to build this community, because this is the only thing going. Sorry to tell you, my friends, if you think that we're going to build this this new African community world by bringing in another African-centered school, you know, that's going to solve our problems, because it's the same paradigm. It's the same thing. The school is out there, and out there is inside of here. And how we go outside there is by going inside here. How are you a warrior and a martial artist and you scared of what's in your psyche and what's in your subconscious? You know, I tell people, you know, we get the Beantown shaman, Dooley from Boston, said it best. He was on a program the other night. He said he tells his friends about this, and he said, no, man, I don't know what may come out. Whatever may come out is in you, and it needs to come out. You need to confront it. You need to deal with it so that you can progress and move on. We're talking about transdimensionalism. We're talking about hyperdimensionalism. We're talking about becoming the things that we envision, being able to deal with our imagination and make that something that is real. Be who you are, what you are. If you are interested, if you're a Facebook friend or if you're not a Facebook friend, I guess the limit of Facebook friends. But we need also to be able to get these things to you. So for the crystals, will be, well, the crystals are available. The Yimingzu, the Infinity Stones are available. The Infinity Stones, they glow of their own power and volition. You can tell how you're doing, because if you're doing your Qigong or your meditation, the stone will start to glow itself. You can charge it up in streams and rivers. You can charge it up in sunlight, but you can also charge it up by positive, good thoughts. And this is a light that is a light of protection that goes out around you. And these aren't the theoretical things that we're talking about. Oh, this ring is this and this is that. No. We're talking about once you pair these things with the entheogens, they become animate and alive. That's what I said about Meadow Nature. Even in the midst of all the nonsense that's been going on with the children for the last month or two, with all that cussing and acting silly on the doggone internet. Meadow Nature is to be experienced. It's not just to be read. Yes, it can be read. It can be read, yes. We had so many shafts of wheat that we stored at the in the Pharaoh's granary, and this is this God, and this is that God. But under the influence of the entheogens, which is the technology that unlocks it, by taking 12 grams or 15 grams of mushrooms and bringing out your papyrus and your papyri and setting it on the table while you're in your meditation, which you've been doing for 20 years. You take your entheogen on a long Saturday night, and once you go into the experience, the Meadow Nature at certain dosages becomes animate on the page. And you don't read it, you hear it. That's what the hieroglyphs are. You hear the glyphs. It's not an accident. And at a higher dose, those characters on the Meadow Nature papyri or papyrus, they come off and out into your environment. They come off the doggone papyrus or off the frieze on the wall. And at other dosages, higher dosages, you go into the papyri, into that world, and experience what those characters and entities inside of the papyrus are doing. This is the technology. We have this. This is nothing that I have to, all you got to do is get some mushrooms and long Saturday night. I can show you. These things are technologies that are accessible. That's what the mandala is. That's what the sand painting is. The mandala, that's what that is. That's what the carpet is, the magic carpet. It's a technology. Why did people supposedly in Africa praying to trees? Because when they took that entheogen in the dark, out in the forest at night, the technology of those trees opened up. Because in those infra particles, there's super civilizations inside of those trees. And there may be only in one particle in that tree. One particle that the people commune with and go into the tree, into that particle, and experience the super civilization that's inside of there. So these are the things we're talking about. We're talking about moving it and taking it to the next level of the development of the soul. Not human development, because we're not looking at being human beings anymore. Human being is obsolete. If you're a human, you might as well be a cow or a duck, because we're talking about taking it to the next level. I don't know what everybody else is talking about their practice and about what they're doing and all this kind of stuff. That's beautiful. But take a chance. Psilocybin mushrooms, because that's my entheogen. It is non-addicting. In other words, you take it, you can't be addicted by it. It is one of the safest compounds of all the compounds that we have. It's safer than coffee. It's safer than, a Snickers bar ain't that great, but it's safer than a Snickers bar. You can't kill yourself with it. You could eat 100 pounds of these mushrooms and not kill yourself. That doesn't mean don't be responsible. That doesn't mean, you're going to sit at the top of the cliff at the edge and you may not be dizzy or something like that. I'm talking about in your bed, in your bedroom with your phone cut off and put away so that you don't get to pontificating and prophesizing and all that kind of stuff and want everybody to know. No, I'm not talking about walking up and down the street or in the midst of your friends, while you take a couple of grams of mushrooms, smoke a joint or two, and sit down and look at Beavis and Butthead. I'm not talking about that. That's what the children do. I'm talking about high dose entheogens so that we can become more and become greater than what we're manifesting on Earth at this particular place and time. That way we can correct all of this. All we need is enough folks to believe. And the belief is only in that the believing part is just before you take the mushrooms. Once you stick them in your mouth, it's too late and you don't have to believe anymore because you'll be there. We'll be hosting cultivation workshops in your city. That means that I don't want you stuck to me. I don't want you stuck to anybody else. I don't want you dependent on anybody else. You learn to grow these mushrooms yourself. It's not a big learning curve. You grow once a year, you stick them in your freezer, and when you're ready to go, you go. You don't have to go to Peru. You don't need no shaman. You don't need anybody but yourself and courage. But I'm not saying it won't be scary. I'm not saying you're not gonna see some weird stuff, because you can see some weird stuff. Thing about psilocybin, it's good on beginners. Beginners say, it'll rock you to, it'll rock you. You'll be seeing universes being born and faraway galaxies and stars and beautiful jungles with exotic creatures and things like that. And then later on, it's gonna throw you for a loop. But that's where you build your power, you build your strength. So we're going to be hosting cultivation workshops in your city. If you're interested in the lecture and the cultivation workshop, because once you get a mushroom spore print, You never have to buy anything else the rest of your life. You can pass your mushrooms down to your grandchildren and great-great-grandchildren. Meaning that you ain't got to be paying me monthly. You don't have to be paying nobody else monthly. You don't have no dues. None of that. You grow your own. Do it when you feel it's time. So we'll be hosting cultivation workshops in your city. Facebook message me on Facebook or kilindi@hotmail.com. We'll also be having retreats and also couples retreats where a brother can bring his wife, or you can bring your spouse or whoever you want to bring to the couples retreats. We'll be having those. So hit me on Facebook message. We also take donations to keep things going, but that's not important. The important thing is that you get the workshop, the entheogenic workshop, so that you learn how to grow. You get the crystals with the hyperdimensional and transdimensional codes downloaded into the crystals, so that when you go, you take your crystal with you. You get to a certain point, you pull your crystal out, you look at your crystal, you go into the crystal sends you through the wormhole, or whatever you want to call it, puts you in the star car, in the vehicle, and you ride in style to where we at. We get there, we hang out. When you get there, you don't need to pay for the hotel, because your mind will create whatever place, abode you want to live in. You just do the bewitched, or just wave your hand, it'll be there. So I'm gonna get off of here because don't want to be on too long. Please, if you can and you're interested, just get with me, because it's not about me, it's about all of us being able to elevate all at the same time. And this doesn't stop you from doing whatever you're doing, other than it may hit the ego of whoever your guru is, or your boss, or your preacher, or whatever, because this takes them out of it. And the thing about it is, a great teacher makes himself or herself obsolete, and rallies in the good feeling that their student has taken whatever you're doing to the next level and come back and teaches you something. That was always my goal. So, hey, I'm out of here. Thank you very much for listening to me. I'll be back on soon, because we're going to hit it hard in 2017. So if you don't want to get in on this, you'll be left behind. It'll be like kick the can. So thank you very much. Have a good day and afternoon. Get with me on Facebook message or at my email, which is kilindi@hotmail.com. That's also my PayPal. Make a donation. It'll go into helping putting these things together. Thank you very much. Have a good morning.